Hello and welcome. I've got for you today the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i for 2025, one of the most popular Lenovo models and also one of the best equipped and also the best value in many cases as well. So this one here has been updated. There's been a few changes for 2025, particularly the RTX 5000 series update in the Blackwell generation featuring multi-frame generation, which means we can now generate up to 2, 3, or even 4x the number of frames to help, really bump those frame rates up. And of course, the 5080 here runs at 175 watts. This is the 7i is pretty much the premium, most premium laptop you can get in their gaming lineup and in the Legion series. So just a quick disclaimer here, this laptop was provided to me by Lenovo for review. That said, all of the opinions here will be entirely my own and no one has had editorial review of the content herein. That said, if you like any of the content and products that I review, you can check the descriptions below. I often include links to purchase with discount codes to help you save a bit of money. And also, if you like the channel, want to support us further, give us a tip using the coffee link in the description below. It's a small gesture, but it goes a long way to help independent creators such as myself. Now, let's jump in here and take a look at whether this OLED equipped and OLED across the lineup for Lenovo this year, for their Legion lineup at least, whether this OLED equipped, 5080 equipped, laptop is the gaming laptop that you should be looking at buying this holiday season. A quick word from our sponsor today, Keys Fan. If you need Microsoft Office or Microsoft Windows, you know that it's very expensive to purchase at retail. Using this site here, Keys Fan, you can actually purchase Microsoft Office or Windows license, various different versions that you may require at hefty discounts. Head over to Keys Fan, select the product you wish to purchase, add it to your cart, and then using the code either TKL62 for Office or TKL50 for Windows to receive some hefty discounts and be able to purchase at a very reduced cost. That makes it much more manageable. It's considering these are tools for the workplace and for the homes, almost essential for today. Then click proceed to checkout and you'll notice that you have secure options here to pay, including PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard, so you can rest assured that your purchases are protected and safe. Enjoy the discounts today. As for the build quality of the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i, we know that Lenovo always gives us premium materials because this is towards the top of their stack here. So this one here, we've got a aluminum lid on top, an aluminum body housing, we got an aluminum keyboard deck here, and of course on the bottom panel of this device here, though it sounds like plastic, it actually is an aluminum bottom lid as well. So an all aluminum construction give you lots of confidence around the overall longevity of this device as well. And of course, one thing that's very true for 2025 laptops this year is that these bottom rubber feet have gotten ever larger and ever higher. So they've actually increased the Z height of many laptops this year in 2025 to allow for that massive 250 watts of power and cooling that's required for these RTX 5000 plus the latest Intel Core Ultra 9 and 7 CPUs. As for those of you who care about aesthetics of your laptops and the actual look and feel of them, I think you're going to be a little bit heartbroken to know that this thing, collects fingerprints like nobody's business. Depending on how much of a grease monkey you are, you're going to have a lot of fingerprints on this device that are quite visible actually. Here it's not showing quite as much, or here it's highlighted because of the overhead studio light, but even in any natural environment, when you pull this out of your bag and it's full of fingerprints, it's certainly not a nice look. So you'll need to carry with yourself a microfiber cloth to give it a nice wipe down. That said though, the fingerprints not just to the top lid here, but they also hold through, and you get grease collection onto the actual keyboard deck as well as even the bottom surface of this device here. You can see you start to get grease and all of these fingerprints as well. So that's something that you'll have to keep in mind if you're considering the Legion Pro 7i for 2025. And one more thing to say about this is because this has a 250 watts thermal capacity of CPU plus GPU load concurrently, that means you're going to have a very big power brick here. And you're not surprised to see that there is a 400 watt power brick that's provided by Lenovo with this laptop in the box here. This thing adds another kilogram of weight, or roughly another 2 pounds of weight to the overall laptop's carry size. So that means you're going to be looking at roughly around 7 pounds, 7.5 pounds for both combined charger and laptop. This seems to be the trend this year because everybody's bumped up the wattages on their higher performance gaming laptops to 250 watts for CPU plus GPU, particularly for the 5080 and the 5090 models, and even some 5070 Ti models at 140 watts. You're going to get very large 300 watt plus power bricks, such as this 400 watt here from Lenovo. Considering that this is a very well balanced design here, we have a nice and sturdy hinge that allows for opening of the one hand lid. It's almost a little bit too stiff, and as you'll see here, it causes the laptop to move, which is okay, but it's something that perhaps would have been avoided if the rubber feet were a little bit larger and had more surface area. Also to note is that the display this year does not fold back 180 degrees, unfortunately, like prior years with the Legion series laptops. This is powered by the Intel's Arrow Lake 2-core Ultra 9 275HX, the highest processor offering for 2025. So this one now has 24 cores with 24 threads. Intel basically, decided to switch up how they're actually reporting their CPUs from 2025. Ultra 9 275HX. Now, being that HX, this is a 55 watt and higher class processor, the highest in their lineup, and of course it is unlocked, so you can be undervolted and messed with. We'll talk about that perhaps in a future video. One other thing to note here, that the Intel Arc graphics are not present on this particular CPU lineup series. This one just includes these Intel graphics, which are sufficient, of course, to run all of your iGPU tasks, but it's not going to allow you to play any games in iGPU mode if that is something you were curious about. And of course, it's paired with a 64 megahertz transfer per second RAM. So this is replaceable DDR5 DIMMs. It's very nice to see here that we've boosted up finally beyond the 5600 megahertz limit, which you've seen to have been stuck at for the last 2 generations or so. Also included is an NPU here with Intel's AI Boost. So you can definitely get all of your AI inferencing and your LLM models running locally and use that NPU goodness for all kinds of interesting tasks. Of course, the iGPU on board here, as I mentioned earlier, is not an Arc graphics GPU, so that means you're not going to be able to do much gaming, but it's sufficient to, and low power, so that most of the focus can be on the CPU cores to push those high frame rates when paired with a discrete GPU. And speaking of discrete GPU here, this one is paired with the RTX 5080. This is the latest in the RTX 5000 series. The Blackwell GPU is paired with 16 gigabytes of VRAM buffer, which is going to be absolutely essential if you want to future-proof your laptop for the next coming year. All right, I will check the display here with a cold boot situation to see what is the backlight bleed like. And since this is an OLED display, we'd expect there to be none. And that is certainly the case here. There is absolute zero backlight display or backlight bleed in this particular display. Now, with the brightness, whether in a dark room or a bright room, it gets plenty bright with 500 nits in SDR mode and up to 1000 nits in HDR mode, which means with the exception of the brightest rooms and direct reflections onto the actual display, you'll have no issue whatsoever, really enjoying those stunning visuals. And of course, it is highly reflective, so make sure you angle this properly to avoid those reflections. Okay, as for the display quality itself, so basically Lenovo has done a one-up on itself this year. So we get a standard definition brightness of 500 nits max and SDR mode, but if you put this into HDR, which it is now, you can see here my camera is trying to keep up with the brights here, because the brights are extremely bright and the darks are very, very dark. They're true blacks here. So we've got 1000 nits of true HDR blacks on the OLED display, 240 hertz refresh rate, near instant response times here, so 0.3 milliseconds I believe is the actual response time on this display. Quad HD resolution 1600p, and you're also going to get a 16 by 10 aspect ratio here, so all of the quality features and bells and whistles and specs that you need, plus an actual display that delivers for gaming, content consumption, and anything in between. Display's refresh rate here, that 240 hertz here really goes a long way to give you that smooth motion. As we can see, 240 hertz here is 240 fps here, and 240 hertz is excellent for any kind of fast-paced gaming, particularly if you're playing and enjoying the new Borderlands 4. This display and this laptop is going to be an excellent performer all around. This is a test of the webcam that's built into the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i for 2025. So this one finally gets an upgrade to that 5 megapixel webcam. Lovely to see here. I don't understand why gaming laptops were excluded this from this in prior years. We've had Ultrabooks with 5 megapixel and higher megapixel count cameras now. Nice to see we're getting that visual fidelity upgrade here and the picture quality upgrade that we need for meetings and for essential work, working from home and remotely. So this 5 megapixel webcam here is also paired with Windows and Intel sound system, and using that Core Ultra 9 275HX and its NPU, you can do stuff like background filtering, auto framing, things of that sort, using those AI and NPU chops here. So nice to see that Lenovo has finally given us a laptop that is a gaming laptop, a creator's laptop, and has a great fidelity webcam as well for video conferencing and all of those that work as well. Of course, being the top in the stack of the Legion series here, this one is included with Wi-Fi 7 connectivity thanks to Intel's Wi-Fi 7 BE200. So you should get some very, very nice speeds here for Wi-Fi transfers. And we also have the latest generation of Bluetooth on board here with 5.4, giving you future-looking connectivity whether you need Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Storage on the Legion Pro 7i is provided courtesy of 2 by 1 terabyte SSD drives in my particular equipped model. This one has two 2280 slots here for standard SSD installation and can support up to 2 by 4 for an 8 terabyte total combination of SSD drives here. Nice to see that they're replaceable and easily accessible. And of course, they are from SK Hynix to get some very, very fast and high performance speeds for read and write. So you're going to have an excellent experience here for gaming. And of course, there's no SD slot on board here, sadly, for content creators. And as for those of you who do some audio production, you'll be happy to know that running a latency mon test here on this laptop reveals excellent results. Whether you're running on battery or on AC power, you're not going to have any issues here with latency. You're going to be able to do all kinds of DJ and audio production stuff with ease. Okay, and a quick few words here about a most contentious subject, which is always battery life on these particular laptops. So the first thing to point out here, the other thing here is that because this thing has a 99 watt hour battery, but very, very powerful and power hungry processor and GPU inside, Lenovo is claiming between 2.9 hours at 250 nits, which is pretty typical and usable for OLED. If you turn it down to 150 nits, which I think is completely unusable except for watching movies perhaps, then you can get perhaps 5 hours of battery life on this thing. But rest assured, if you're looking to get a battery life champ, this is not going to be your laptop. If you're looking for battery life as your first and primary goal, then you're going to have to look at something that is more of an ultralight, something with a Core Ultra 256V, 258V, the Lunar Lake processors. Those are much more efficient and can outlast these by a long margin. That said, here you do have fast charging on board. You can charge the battery 99 watt hours up to 70% in 30 minutes, which is pretty darn good. And you also have USB Type-C charging with the USB Type-C port on the left-hand side at up to 140 watts in a pinch. So if you have a USB Type-C power adapter that can deliver 140 watts, you can certainly use this for work and study without needing to carry the massive 400 watt power brick that is required to fully power this machine. Looking at the thermal performance of the Legion Pro 7i for 2025 with the 5080, we're looking at some excellent numbers here. If we look at the hotspots here, there is some hotspots towards the center of the keyboard deck and of course closer to the hinge and the power button of this laptop here. And that is because that's where the vapor chamber is situated that cools both the CPU and the GPU here. And the vapor chamber is larger than ever, it's heavier than ever, and it's giving us a lot better cooling effect here. So if we look here, the hottest surface temperatures we can see on the keyboard deck, of course nowhere near in the range where you would be putting your hands, particularly near the WASD keys. You can see here they show nice and cool, but towards the top of the actual keyboard, or excuse me, the center of the deck here of the laptop, you can see here temperatures well below 50 degrees, 45, 46, 47, nearly 48 degrees there are the highest temperatures you'll see on this particular laptop. Excellent thermal performance from the Pro 7i for 2025, and Legion has done a great job here with the vapor chamber once again, and the cooling on for this laptop is top notch, as you would expect. in 2025, Legion has switched out the software that's used to administer these laptops, particularly for the Legion lineup. If you're getting a Legion lineup laptop or even the Log series, you're going to see this software called Legion Space. This is new for 2025, was introduced at CES. So this is basically an overhaul of Lenovo's Legion or Lenovo Vantage to be split out for their gaming oriented laptops and for their consumer and prosumer oriented series. So you still have all of the essentials here, so you can toggle through the different modes. You have quiet, balanced, performance, and a custom mode here. You can also go into the little cog wheel here, and in custom mode you have a pre-configured extreme mode, which basically cranks up the wattages on everything, or you have alternatively an option of this 0-1 preset, and you can add additional presets here that allow you to define and address the PL1, PL2 turbo limits, temperature limits, power limits, and the power toggle between the CPU and GPU, etc. So full control is still available for this particular laptop, and we also have the option here to toggle to full span speed, or alternatively we can go to a customized fan curve here. I can adjust individual points here. I think Lenovo is still doing the absolute best here with this stuff. The software experience is absolutely unmatched, I think, in terms of what Lenovo gives you. You get some few up here, some visuals. There's also a GPU overclock feature, which I found to work quite well. Despite the warning here, it seems to overclock the GPU by about 400 megahertz, I believe, on the CPU or the core clock for the GPU, and also for the GPU memory clocks. And in my testing, I played a lot of game on this with this GPU overclock enabled, and it was quite stable. So I was pleasantly surprised, and I left this on for most of my actual gaming sessions, not for the testing in this video that I'm making here. Of course, we also have GPU modes here. You can toggle between hybrid mode, which is by default, go into a discrete GPU mode if you want to really eke out every single ounce of power from that RTX 5080 in here. Go into a hybrid iGPU only mode, which means it will toggle over to the Intel iGPU here, the 140T that's in the 275HX, or you can also go into a hybrid auto mode. Just leave it on hybrid mode, which is kind of where Advanced Optimus works, and it should work just fine. We also have a misclick prevention here and a few other features that you can use to configure your laptop as well. And of course, what's probably more interesting to you here is that they've added this kind of game store in here as well, and I've seen this with the new Omen software as well. This seems to be a trend. Most of them are trying to now add in some sort of a game store to try to sell you games right from within the laptop's control center software. And I suppose for those of you who are not big Steam buffs or big PC gamers, this may work. I find this quite personally distasteful, but it is a choice that not just Lenovo but many of the other manufacturers are now making with their softwares to try to ramp up their revenues. You have also a game library option, and of course if you go in here you have a few things that are kind of exclusive to Legion. One here is the game clip master. So if you go into this, you can turn this feature on and it will automatically capture clips, similar to what you would do with Nvidia's overlay and their highlights feature. And of course you have this game companion here, which also gives you hints and whatnot when you're in games and trying to get that kill. And it's a fast software as well, so if you click this to open it, it opens quite quickly, so you're not going to feel any delays. It doesn't feel bloated. It doesn't take a long time to install. You also have, of course, here the control options for the RGB keyboard. You can go in here. So right now it's reacting to the audio in the environment. Of course, you can change it to, there's a front ambient light, there is a rear light here as well, and of course there is a logo, an LED logo on the lid. So if you want RGB, this thing's going to be packed to the brim with RGB for you. Of course, you could always go into add, create a personalized one, and then control the per RGB keyboard with whichever zones and stuff you like to match and create a completely custom RGB theme for your keyboard. Love that all of this is baked into the Legion Space software, and you don't need to install a different software like some of the MSI machines where you have to install SteelSeries and GG software for for keyboard, for lighting, and lots of other stuff. This is the way to go. And one more thing that I want to mention that has completely gone amiss here this year. So in the last few years, although it's still present, we still have the Lenovo, the Legion AI co-processor, or the Legion AI chip on board, the LNA1 I believe it's called. I'll put the title on the subtitle, or put the actual name in the subtitle below. But that particular AI is gone from here. So there's no way to say, hey, use the AI to process my, understand my computer and my behavior patterns for usage and then optimize based on those scenarios. There is no such option. It's gone. I am happy to see that, considering that I thought it was a gimmick initially and it has been removed from here overall. But keep in mind that hardware wise, the LA1 chip is still very much present, and I believe now in its third or fourth generation. All right, having looked at the specs of this machine, let's talk about the actual performance. So as you'll see here from a variety of different screenshots of different benchmarks that I've ran on this particular laptop, this laptop is a beast. And I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by that statement, considering that the Core Ultra 7 275, Core Ultra 9, 275HX is the top of the Arrow Lake stack for Intel and in 2025. That means we're going to get, 55 watts plus of performance. We're in that highest envelope here of processors, and the process is unlocked, which means we have the ability to do things such as undervolt and to play around with different performance characteristics of the CPU itself. We may talk about those perhaps in a future video, but you can see here from the performances that, it's actually pretty top notch and right up there with the best laptops this particular year. They're always within a few percentage points of each other. If you check a few different other outlets that also report on performance figures and comparisons and charts and whatnot, they're usually within a few percentage points of each other. I would not be surprised if this is near the top of the list in terms of the highest performing 5080 equipped laptops for 2025. That said, you can take a look at the other screenshots here. If you feel, please pause the video so you can take a detailed look at some of the benchmarks that I've run. This of course is not a complete subset, but just a limited selection of benchmarks just to give you an overall idea of the raw CPU and GPU mixed performance from this particular laptop. And considering that this is a gaming laptop, the next thing we'll do here is take a look at the gaming performance from this machine. So as you can expect from the RTX 5080 equipped Legion Pro 7i for 2025, you're going to get the absolute maximum and beastly performance here, considering this thing can boost up to 175 watts for the GPU and a total of 50 or 75 watts, additionally for the CPU, giving you a total package power of 250 watts or total thermal capacity of 250 watts, particularly for the CPU and GPU alone. Now that is a lot of power. Of course, this is just a sample here. I don't have any stats on, so you can see what the performance levels and power figures are like. If you're interested and curious about that, I've done a dedicated separate video on my channel. You can see the link at the end of this video and of course at the card in the corner at the top to go and see a few select games that I've done, a variety of different testing in different resolutions, different presets to show you with DLSS multi-frame generation at 1080p, 1200p resolution, and of course at 1600p, the native resolution of this display, how capable this laptop is and how capable and future looking the 5080 is with its 16 gigabytes of VRAM in 2025 for a mobile GPU. All right, then to conclude my review here of the Legion Pro 7i, so enjoyed this footage here of me playing Assassin's Creed Shadows here. I really enjoyed playing this game here on this laptop in silent mode, as you can see by the white light around the Lenovo's power button here. So this is entirely possible. We'll talk about that in a dedicated separate video, how you can actually optimize the gaming performance from this particular laptop to reduce the fan noise and also to optimize the thermal performance of this as well. So we'll talk about that in the near future here. But to say that I've been really impressed with the Legion Pro 7i and that it really grew on me is an understatement. I was a little bit hesitant about the OLED display, but it is just gorgeous and absolutely stunning. The refresh rate, the response time, the overall resolution, everything is very, very good about this laptop. The weight is a little bit heavier since the last generation, 2023 and 2024, but I believe that is to be expected considering we've got higher wattage parts in here with the CPU plus GPU giving us 250 watts of sustained performance. That said, it has all of the bells and whistles. The Lenovo Smiley Key keyboard is on board. We get a 5 megapixel AI enabled webcam finally in a gaming laptop, and with the 5080 you have enough power and that 16 gigabytes of VRAM to last you through AAA titles for a few years yet to come. So despite what may come up in the market or might be thrown at you, you have a few years here of longevity that you can basically rely on from this particular laptop and its specs. That said, if you want to buy this laptop, you should look for sales and deals coming around the holiday season season. We're approaching that quite quickly. I believe there will be plenty of sales. This particular model here is also available in 5070 Ti and 5090 equipped versions. However, I believe here that 5080 here is the sweet spot. Although if you want to save a few $100 and still be fairly, somewhat forward and future proof, that you can get a 5070 Ti to help save a little bit of money there. Of course, if you want to really make sure that you have all of the power you need for content creation, for gaming, consumption, and everything for your needs as a desktop replacement or as a sole laptop only user, this would be the way to go with an RTX 5080. So thanks again to Lenovo for sending this out. Really enjoyed my time with this today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please click the like button, click subscribe, and click that notification bell so you're the first to know when there's new content available here. And of course, if you like any of the content that I review and wish to purchase these products, you can check the links in the description below. I often include links with discount codes to help you save a little bit of money. And if you really like the channel's work and really want to help support us, you can give us a tip using the coffee link in the description below. It's a small gesture, but really goes a long way to help independent creators such as myself. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.